it's 6 a.m. I've actually had 9 hours of sleep, but I still have a face like a battered haddock before it's been fried. And I'm once again back at Fairy Lake near Port Renfrew on Vancouver Island because it's a gorgeous misty morning. Hopefully you can see way off in the distance there. So we've got that classic, totally famous, completely overshot fairy tree. But with mist like this, a foggy misty morning like this, even a cliche such as this is irresistible to me. I've got to come and shoot it. So I'm stood on the road. You can probably see where I am now. I'm on the road shooting into the lake, but I think I'm going to have to do what I usually do, and that is to get down to the water's edge, get really low and shoot across the lake. Now, when I got here about 15 minutes ago, you could not see the other side of the lake. You couldn't see those trees. It was so foggy. All that you could see was that lone tree popping out of that log that's submerged. It was fantastic. And by the time I got set up, the fog had, well, it hadn't lifted, it's just pushed further back a little bit. So there's a chance it might come back in. If it does, I think I might get a quite unique shot. But we've now got to that stage where blue hour is long gone, and now I'm just waiting for that sun to pop up. And when it does pop up over there and hits this very, very cold lake, there's a chance that we might see this steam kind of rise from the surface of the lake, which I've already got a shot of that before, but every time that you come here, it does something different. You can't predict what it's going to do. So it's worth a shot because the conditions do look perfect. Now, if you're wondering why I'm wearing a lumberjack's jacket, it's because I left mine at home. I totally forgot it. And I'm here with Colin on this trip. So he's kindly lent me his lumberjack's jacket, which comes pre-furnished with dog hair. I've got some nice dog hair on there, so I'm doubly comfortable.
Now, if you want to get the best shots, you've really got to get your feet wet. So I waded out on that boggy shoreline to claim my spot.
So when it comes to photographing this tree, you're kind of limited in what you can do. You can change your elevation and you can change the way that you align yourself horizontally with the tree, but that is about it. The rest of it all comes down to whatever the light does. I mean, I guess you could say that the tide also changes the composition, but assuming that that's pretty much the same as last time I shot it, all I can really do is just wait for the sun to pop up and wait for it to react with the fog and the mist and the background, and that's what will reveal the composition. So I'm just kind of sitting here patiently waiting, and once something interesting happens, then I'll decide, am I going to place the tree in the center? Am I going to push it off to one side? If the background isn't really doing anything interesting, I'll probably zoom in a lot tighter and just fill the frame with the tree and the reflection. But if the background's doing something interesting with the light and maybe the way that the light's hitting a fog and the treetops, then I'll compose a wider shot. So it's a bit of a waiting game, and I can't really do anything super unique, but I could still get an absolutely tremendous shot if I get some nice light. So I'll just sit here and freeze and just patiently wait. But it is nice because I've got the whole place to myself. It's really quiet, it's really tranquil, and it's kind of the reason why I want to come out to the west coast, because just escape the rat race, get some peace and tranquility and some alone time. That's what I want. So right now the light, well, there is no light, it's not really doing anything, everything's super flat. So for me now, it's all about the fog. It's all about this scene being really minimalist. So I'll show you this composition that I've framed up. It's kind of obvious, but it's so minimalist that it does actually work quite nicely. I'll just show you the back of the camera. So I've gone for a vertical composition, and you can see that I've placed the tree and its reflection in the entire bottom half of the frame. And then the top half of the frame is just mist. It's just a complete whiteout. And sometimes it's worth composing your shots like this, because if you ever wanted to use an image like this for like a poster or a magazine cover, that negative space that you can see in the top there is perfect for title graphics. It's just a nice bit of space for copy. And even on this video I could see the mist rolling in. To make it even better though, what would make it even nicer is if that mist rolled all the way down to the horizon line. And I do like how the horizon line cuts, kind of bisects right through the little trunk of that tiny little fairy tree there. But if that mist crept down a little bit lower, it would make it even more simple and minimalist. So I'll just camp out on this spot and rattle out a few more versions of this shot. Might even try a horizontal as well. But this cloud is kind of thick. It might even be 2 hours before the sun pops up there. And if that takes that long, then things might warm up to the point where you don't get that mist rising off the lake. So we'll see. It's still quite beautiful, but I'm hopeful that it's going to get even more beautiful. And like I say, the whole place to myself. Bliss. Hang on. Who's that? Oh no. That looks a lot like Uncle Grumpy to me. So sure enough, I got my beautiful shot with the mist creeping down so that it becomes even more minimalist and simple. So I'm really happy with that shot. But unfortunately, I don't have the place all to myself anymore because some Riff Raff just showed up. Anyway, I'll show you this shot. Look who's here.
Hello, hello, hello.
Rapacious and Colin. Is it just you two, or is there anyone else? I heard another voice.
Brian is here somewhere.
Oh, you didn't bring Brian. What's he doing here?
I don't know. He insisted.
Brian, what did he say? He hadn't camped since he was 11.
Yeah, the last time he'd been camping was in his garden with some bed sheets on the fence.
When he was a boy. So this was his first time camping in a tent out in the wilds of the wild west coast on Vancouver Island.
In a parking lot.
In a parking lot. But I mean, we do have bears, wolves and cougars. So he was playing his music very loud. I don't think any bears were coming to...
It was annoying.
I think he was trying to hook up some cougars last night.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
The wrong kind.
Yeah, that's right, with the music.
Yeah, I think there's only one reason why you would have it that loud.
Yeah.
And that's because you're scared of
Well, he
bears.
said he heard someone get up and take a pee and he thought it was some animal.
That was me.
Oh, so it was an animal.
I was peeing off my steps.
Nice.
And he's probably going, that's a bear. Well, in a way it was.
Hot dog flapping around in the breeze.
Well, I'm back at my spot and the conditions are just getting absolutely fantastic. So I'll just flip this round. So you might be able to see, hopefully you can. The fog behind the tree is a complete whiteout, and I love it because you can't see the far shore. You can't see the horizon line of the water's edge. You can't see the trees. It is super simple and super minimal. I really love it. It's kind of almost surreal. You've got this tree floating in absolutely nothing. But if you look up a little bit higher, you can see the sun is just starting to illuminate those clouds there, and now it's creating a bit more contrast, some dynamics, and maybe a little bit more colour. The question is going to be whether or not, once it rises up to a certain point, whether it just kills the reflection and starts to pick up wind, like it usually always does. But I think we might be in for something quite special here. So I'm just going to stick in this spot and just wait for the magic to happen. And I think it will.
Now be sure that you stick around to the end of this video where I show you my raw files and I explain how I processed all of these images.
So, how many times do you reckon you've shot this tree?
I'm guessing 30 times.
30 times.
But I've got quite a few good shots, maybe 7 or 8.
So that's more than a 10% success rate.
Yeah, I've had some really good conditions here.
Well, these conditions today are fantastic.
there's nothing quite like a calm and foggy morning on the west coast with your silly friends.
I would say that's just about perfect today, that.
Yeah.
So if we can get some light coming through.
You see a little bit of light in the background.
Yeah.
I wish I could get further over there though, but the trees are in the way. With the blue, like a wide shot.
I think you should get your drone out.
Actually, I could take a drone shot, couldn't I?
Yeah. If you were just like where these twigs are.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, maybe I'll do that.
And then you get all that fog in the background.
But it's pretty wide though.
That's what she said.
Gavin. Oh. That's rude, man.
You'll never guess what I just found on the trail.
Who?
A Leica lens cap.
Oh, you should keep that. That's probably worth a lot of money.
That's probably worth more than my camera. Leica lens cap. Yeah.
Wow.
Very nice.
Ooh, an antique.
Maybe I should have like a contest, a little competition for people to win a ropey old Leica lens cap.
You know what you could do? Put a pin on the back, make it into a badge.
Oh yeah, that would be.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
The ultimate pose. Yeah, I've got Leica nipple going on there. Look at that.
Actually, you should get. Yo, have you got in touch with Leica?
Yeah, I emailed them.
Yeah.
Never responded. Get in touch. Bastards. Well, it's about an hour since my last shot, and it hasn't really changed. The sun has not blasted through. There's no colour, there's no dynamics, there's no contrast. It's beautiful. I can't take anything different to what I shot an hour ago. So how long do you want to give it before we move on?
Well, where do you want to move on to?
I think Sombrio Beach.
Yeah. Have you guys had breakfast?
No, but we'll have to make breakfast.
What are you making us? Have you got some egg and bacon for us?
I got some really delicious pasta that we had last night. You can have that.
We had delicious sausages.
I did see that, yes.
It was good.
You should have seen the absolute debacle last night of Uncle Grumpy putting up the tent for Brian. It was, well, I'll show you some clips. It was quite tragic.
Put that in that grommet over there. No, here, over here.
It's painful to watch, to be quite honest with you.
I'll do anything for you, Brian. I do it for Gavin all the time, and Amanda.
But you can see through it.
Well, you don't need privacy, do you?
That's so we can see what you're up to.
No good, that's what he's always up to.
Do we have we've got a cover to go over this, sir? In case I get a bit hot and I want to get naked.
Because that's what people do in tents. Get hot and naked.
Yeah, I don't think YouTube would let me show you the rest of that evening. But anyway, there's just one more shot that I had to get.
So whenever you've got challenging conditions like this, where there are tree branches growing up into your shot, it really helps to have a Colin, who has become my hero, because not only did he keep me warm with his, what would you call this, plaid? Mackinaw.
Yeah.
This jacket, as I said, disposed with dog hair. Who's Cooper? That's the dog, is it?
You bet.
He keeps me warm, and he's leaning on this tree branch quite precariously in a dangerous spot there. Not recommended. Does not look safe. So that I can get this shot, and I got the shot. Thank you, Colin.
You bet.
I was lucky enough to create 4 images, all with the same subject but different compositions, in a 2-hour window. Post a comment and let me know which one you like the best and the reason why. That was an absolutely brilliant morning. So what I'm doing now in this section of the video, just to prove to you guys that I read all of the comments and I take your suggestions seriously, unless you're a troll, in which case you just get blocked. And that is, a lot of you have been asking me to show you a before and after. You want to see the raw file next to the finished image, kind of like Uncle Grumpy does in his videos. So I'm going to do that, but I'm going to take it one stage further. So I'm going to show you the raw files completely straight out of camera, totally untouched. Then I'll show you the same raw file with a few basic Adobe Camera Raw tweaks. Then I'll show you the finished image after a little bit of Photoshop magic. And if you like this, let me know, because if I get enough upvotes for this, then I might do this a bit more often. If you think it's a boring snowfest, then I'll never do it again. Alright, so this first image is very dark. It's quite underexposed. You might be able to see those ugly dust spots there. So the reason why it's so dark is because I was shooting at f16, because I wanted to get as much focus as I could so that the duck in the background was also at least a little bit focused. My choices were opening up the aperture or upping the ISO, which I didn't want to do because I didn't want it noisy. And I couldn't really shoot with a longer shutter speed, otherwise the duck would have been a blur. So it was a compromise. I knew it was a bit underexposed, but I figured I could bump that up in post with not too much noise and dinge, keeping that ISO pretty low. So here's the raw file, just with a few basic tweaks. You can still see those dust spots, but I've just brightened it up and I've pumped up the shadows a little bit so you can see some of that shadow detail in the tree there. And then this is the finished image, so you can see it's a lot brighter and a lot cleaner because I got rid of all those dust spots. And there's a few areas of selective contrast, but really not much needed to be done to it. Okay, this next image, once again, very, very dark, and it's the same problem. I was shooting with a very narrow but sharp aperture because I wanted as much depth of field as possible, but I wanted a fairly short shutter speed just in case one of the ducks popped up. So that's why it's underexposed, and man, look at the dust spots. I'm quite ashamed of how filthy that sensor is. And if you look at the foreground, you can see those pretty ugly looking grasses. I knew that I would crop those out, and then whatever remained I would clone out. So then this next one is the raw file with some basic Adobe Camera Raw tweaks. Obviously I've brightened it up and I've really enhanced those shadow areas so you can see that detail on the tree there, but it still needs that crop doing. So this is the final image. So I've cropped out the top and the bottom, and then there was a few little grasses or reeds or branches or twigs or whatever they were that just needed to be cloned out. So I cleaned that up, got rid of all the dust spots, and then again just a little bit more selective contrast, especially in the background where those trees are. And you probably couldn't see it in the preview earlier, but there is a big bald eagle in that tree in the background, which I thought was quite cool. All right, so this one, this might be my favorite. I can't quite decide between this one and the next one, but this is straight out of camera. This is the raw file with absolutely nothing done to it. So I didn't even bother to do any Adobe Camera Raw tweaks. I just brought this straight into Photoshop. And when I was composing the image, I knew that I would crop a little bit off the left side there, just to balance out the tree in a slightly more pleasing position, and to get rid of those twigs that you can see on the bottom left corner. And then this is the final image, just cropped. I've taken out those little twigs there, and I've done a little bit of selective contrast and dodging and burning, mostly on the background there, just to sort of make it pop a little bit more. But again, it really didn't need much. Okay, and then this final image, that dust spot is atrocious. That's a problem with these mirrorless cameras. They're just like dust magnets. As soon as you switch lenses, that's it. All of the dust in the universe gets sucked into that sensor area. So really underexposed, really quite dark. I can't remember why I underexposed it so much, but that's what I did. So in the next stage, so that what you're looking at there is straight out of camera, 0 tweaks. So then this is the raw file that has a few tweaks. Obviously I've brightened it up, and that's pretty much all I've done. Shadows, highlights, that kind of thing. Hardly anything, a little bit of sharpening, but just generally brightened it up. And then this is the final edit after a few Adobe Photoshop contrast tweaks and a few little color enhancements, some dodging and burning, and obviously a crop, because when I was composing this image in the field, I knew that I would go for a 16:9, because I also knew it would look really good in the video, because videos are 16:9. So again, not very much in the way of processing. They're all quite subtle images, and that's what I love about foggy scenes, is you really don't need to do that much editing in post. But yeah, if you want to know a bit more about my selective contrasts and how I dodge and burn and clean up images, check out my course, Photoshop for Morons. There's a link in the description there. So that is my before and after raw file to finished comparison. So if you enjoyed that, let me know, and I might consider doing more of these in the future. But if you didn't enjoy it, also let me know, because then I won't do these. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it the old like, and if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, hit that subscribe button and tickle my bell, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.